we've got a few more signings to dive into
as the season goes on.
Welcome into Bucs Insider, presented by Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook. Casey Phillips here with senior writer and editor Scott Smith, and we had to hop on here for a bit of a breaking news emergency show today because there have been some coaching changes announced by the organization. And, you know, for those of us who interact with coaches personally and on a weekly basis, and, we never like seeing people have to leave the organization, and they're all very kind, wonderful people. I really appreciated that coaches always come on my show every week, win or lose, which is really great. And so, but we do have to announce some of these changes that have happened. And Todd Bowles put out a statement discussing the same thing. If it's always hard to let people go, but these are some of the changes we wanted to make sure Bucs fans knew what those were. So, Scott, can you tell us about some of the coaches who we are parting ways with?
Like you said, it's one of these days that you don't really enjoy, and I'm sure Todd Bowles didn't enjoy it either. And he said in his statement that these guys have done a lot for us in recent years, but the results were not good enough last year, and so some changes had to be made. And I think the two biggest ones obviously are his two coordinators, Josh Grizzard and Thomas McGahee, offense and special teams there. Also parted ways with cornerbacks coach Kevin Ross, defensive line coach Charlie Strong, and quarterbacks coach Thaddeus Lewis. And in addition, safeties coach Nick Rapone retired, as did Tom Moore, who's a coaching legend. Which
I honestly never thought we'd see the day. I thought that he would coach longer than all of us would be alive at this point.
Well, he's well past 60 years of coaching.
Unbelievable.
48 of them in the NFL, and I think the Buccaneers are very lucky that the last 7 were here.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a lot of really great relationships, and think about the fact that like Bucky Irving gravitated towards him, things like that. So, he'll be missed, but he's going to take care of family.
Yep.
And otherwise, the Buccaneers' changes were more along the lines of things that needed to be done in order to get back on track. And so we'll have at least 6 new people on Todd Bowles' staff for 2026. And, of course, most importantly, those 2 coordinator positions. And this means, and this is not ideal, but it's something that a lot of teams have to deal with. The Buccaneers will be on their 5th offensive coordinator in a 5-year span.
Yeah.
And, some of that was because of successes. So, you look at our offense this past year, and you have to acknowledge that there was a big rash of injuries, right? And undoubtedly that had something to do with it. But the Buccaneers were top 5 in offense in virtually every category a year ago, and the numbers dipped quite a bit from there. So I think Todd is looking for somebody to come get it back on track.
A little bit of change on that side of things for sure. Well, of course, we're going to be following that as it comes, all the different, interviews and news about different people filling some of these positions. And of course, the coaching carousel in the NFL spins 24/7 this time of year. And this year in particular, I think it's a quarter of the league has head coach openings, and all of those affect everything else. There's all this trickle down effect from all of those different hirings. So a lot to be keeping an eye on for those different jobs as we move throughout this offseason. We also had a little bit of news about the reserves futures contracts. So first, kind of remind everybody what these are and what they mean.
So it's kind of a way for teams, some teams are out of the playoffs now and they're starting their off seasons, and some aren't. And so what you do is everybody can sign guys to reserve futures contracts. That just means their contracts for 2026 that will take effect. They'll be activated after the Super Bowl, and they'll be part of the 90-man roster once the new league year begins in March. And for the most part, these players are usually guys that were on your practice squad at the end of the season. So the Buccaneers announced 14 of these players, and 13 were guys that finished on our practice squad, or 1 was on practice squad into reserve, but you'll see the list there. They may not be names that jump off the page to you, but if you go back through any of these lists a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'll always find 2 or 3 guys you go, oh yeah, that guy's still with us, and he made the active roster. There's 4 guys on that list there. Nick Jackson, Mohamed Kamara, Josh Williams, and Owen Wright, who actually saw action for the team in the regular season. So while these are not the biggest names you're going to hear in the weeks and months coming forward, there probably will be some guys there who will make an impact next year. There always are.
Always are, every year. So also what we found out with the season ending was where the Bucs were going to be picking for the draft. So we found out that it is number 15, kind of almost dead center there, a little bit up from dead center. And so I know we've picked there a couple other times in our history.
Yeah.
Not super common, though.
No, it's only 2 times, and both of them, weirdly, we picked LSU guys.
Yeah.
It was Anthony McFarland, the defensive tackle, in '99, and then Michael Clayton in 2004. So we should probably start looking at the LSU roster
Obviously,
right
that's
now.
what it means.
The prospects coming out of there. We've had some good luck with LSU guys.
Yeah,
I think.
that's very true.
So 15th in the first round. The Buccaneers are in a group of 4 teams that finished 8 and 9, and they had the third highest strength of schedule, or second highest strength of schedule amongst those 4, and so those 4 rotate. So from round 1, whichever team was picking first in that group, or 13th overall, goes to the back, and then each of the other 3 teams move up. So the Buccaneers will pick 14th in the second round, 13th in the third round, and so on.
So interesting, yeah.
And they, at the moment, have exactly their pick in each round. Haven't lost any picks, haven't gained any picks.
Interesting. Okay, so now the other thing you also find out when the season ends is some of your future opponents. We've known several of them for a while because you always know some of the, your division opponents, obviously, and a few other set ones that are preordained by just the rotation of the divisions you play. But there's always a few that are dependent upon your record, and so that's what we found out at the end of the season. So what were those games and the opponents overall that now we know? What were the things kind of we didn't know before that now we know?
Heading into the final weekend, the Buccaneers could finish either first, second, or third in the division. As it turned out, when Atlanta beat New Orleans, we ended up second, behind Carolina and ahead of Atlanta, actually. So that means that we get the second place schedule for the first time since 2021. We're not playing a first place schedule.
Yeah, all those division winners.
You can't read too much into that because you don't know. Like, for instance, one of the teams we have this coming next year, of course, is Detroit, because we always play in Detroit.
Yeah.
They're not a playoff team this year, technically, but do you think they look like a playoff team next year?
Right.
So the 3 teams that finishing second ended up putting on our schedule were coming here to us, both LA teams, kind of strangely, the Rams and the Chargers, and then a trip to Dallas. So you'll probably enjoy that, right?
Go,
Texas
little trip home, yeah.
and then we're also playing all 4 teams in the AFC North, all 4 teams in the NFC North, and of course our own division
as well.
So that's how you get to 17 games.
There's the full list of, especially as you look at those home games and who you might want to see play. Now we know officially who all of that is.
Yeah, and no really long trips. No West Coast, no
Yeah,
Arizona,
how
no
nice having
Denver.
those LA teams come here instead of the other way around.
I think Detroit's maybe our longest trip, maybe Dallas, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, that is nice. No Seattle, no LA. That's very helpful for sure. All right, well, that is going to do it for us on this edition of Bucs Insider. Again, like I said, there's obviously going to be a lot of news coming out on the coaching front and everything else in this next coming week or so here, and so we are going to come back with more news next week on another edition of the Buccaneers Insider.